Today's job is to do a preliminary pressure test, easy for some to say, on the Brittania boiler. So this has got a few points on it which I'm a little bit worried about. There's been quite a lot of battering going on, so I just want to double check that this boiler will hold water. I've had a quick pump up using my test pump, which is just a commercial one that's used for testing solar installations and plumbing installations. I had a quick pump up and no jokes please, and a couple of the bushes blanking plugs were leaking, so I've put a little bit of Loctite 542 on it, on them, the ones that were leaking. So I'll just let that go off a minute and then we'll come back and try a pressure test. So I've pumped up the boiler to 160 psi. I've had a couple of bushes still leaking, so this top one was still leaking and the big aluminium one at the front was leaking slightly, so I'll need to add some more Loctite to those. So then the actual thing of concern is one stay inside the firebox. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just into the combustion chamber. That's weeping very slightly, so I'll speak to my boiler inspector and see what he says we need to do about that. We may just put some Comsol on it, because it's, that's been at 160 psi which is double working pressure, for quite about 10 minutes. So I don't know the history of this boiler, so that's kind of why I wanted to run a preliminary test first before I take it to the club. And looks like that was a wise decision. Okay. It's a little bit excess of Comsol there, but I can clean it up afterwards. A bit neater on the inside. So we'll pump that up and see how we get on. Hopefully that will fix those two pinhole leaks. They were very, very small. They weren't leaking huge amounts, and I've shown them to the boiler inspector and he's happy for me to proceed in this way. This is the solder that I'm using. It's a Comsol, so it's got a fairly low proportion of silver in it, so like a few percent. So that increases the melting temperature up to nearly 300. So normal plumber solder's more like 180, something like that. So it does look like normal solder, but it is actually the correct thing for fixing boilers. So I'm being a bit more prepared today. I've built a little insulated block for the boiler to sit in, so that will hold the heat in. I've put some rock wool in the combustion chamber to protect all the joints in there. I've got a bit of angle there to reflect the heat back as well, to provide extra protection. And I'm using a bit of angle here as well. I'm going to go with Baker's Flux again, and I'll be using two torches. So I have this Sievert torch, which is 2238 for the detailed stuff, and I've got a big 47 kg propane, a nice big chunky burner. Not sure the number on this one, can I find it? Which is 2238. So basically the plan of action is to heat up the main body of the boiler to about 200 degrees C, using the large burner. Let that heat soak for a little while, then I'll come in with the smaller burner. It's a cyclone burner, which means it takes its oxygen from here, so it will work in the confined space. So I'll attempt to just finish off this one. It's nearly there, it's just a very slight weep now. So we'll do that one first, and then we'll come up to this one and try and smooth out this mess a bit. We'll give that a go. I can't really film this because it's going to be quite stressful, but hopefully bring you back once we're done. Okay, so that was a lot more successful than yesterday. I've got one concern in that the rock wool I've used has melted, so it doesn't look like it's been protecting the bottom of the combustion chamber very well. So I'm hoping that's okay. I've got all this nicely molten. It looks a bit of a mess, but I'll clean it up with a file. Again, this isn't structural. This is purely just to caulk up a few pinhole leaks. I know it looks bad, but trust me, it will be fine. So I'm hoping we've been successful there. Wasn't too bad. It did take a long time to get the heat into the crown sheet, but we got there in the end. Probably could have done with doing a bit more background heating beforehand, so we'll bear that in mind. But propane for the win, I think. Okay, so we're at 160. This bush is leaking slightly. This plug is leaking slightly. And so is this one, so I need to reseal those. But this corner is now completely dry. So that's good. And I'm not sure if you can see up inside there, but that's dry as well. So it's all good. So I just need to seal up a couple of blanking bushes, and we're there. So ready for a boiler test. So happy days. So that's my test setup again.